Hello, everybody. This is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm here in the Wilson Park neighborhood on Craddock Avenue, if you know where that is, to talk about the Harry O. Wilson House behind me. We're in Northeast Baltimore, not far from Morgan State University. This building, like several others that we've covered, is on the city's historic landmark list, and it's there because of its builder and first owner, Harry O'Neill Wilson. If you haven't heard of Harry Wilson before, I'll give you the punchline, and then we'll work our way back up. Wilson was a banker. He owned an insurance company. He was a newspaper publisher, and he was a real estate developer, and probably more. When he died in 1939, he was one of Baltimore's most prominent citizens, and he was probably one of the wealthiest as well. That's all interesting. What's maybe even more interesting is that he was African American, and he rose to incredible success at a time in Maryland when Jim Crow laws had a firm grip. Part of his success probably was from his work ethic. He has said, quote, "I have no special rule for success save hard work and scrupulous honesty." And that apparently got him pretty far. So who was Harry Wilson? He was born in 1873 here in Baltimore. His father was a school principal and died when Harry was rather young. Harry, ironically, had to drop out of formal education, drop out of school to help his family make ends meet. He started out as a shoemaker, made a little bit of money and bought a horse and buggy, and then became a debt collector. He rode around Baltimore collecting debts. He made a little bit more money doing that, but he also learned firsthand about the hardships that African-American Baltimoreans were facing at that time. And his first big venture was in 1903, and that's when he starts a company called the Mutual Benefit Society. And the Mutual Benefit Society provided health insurance, death benefits, and sick day benefits to African Americans at a time when other insurance companies weren't providing those services. When Harry dies in 1939, the Mutual Benefit Society has 400 employees, and it goes on in 1980 or so to merge with another large health insurance company. So a really successful venture there. In 1914, he starts another company called the Helping Hand Building Association. Through that, he provides financing to companies and to churches, to congregations that are building new buildings. And in fact, his company provided financing for 10 congregations to build their own churches that are still here today. A short while later, he founds another organization called the Baltimore Mortgage and Discount Corporation. It's basically a savings and loan bank for African Americans, one of the very first in the country. When the Great Depression hits in the 1930s, Wilson's bank is one of only 15 African American banks nationally to survive. And when the Depression is over, Wilson finds that his bank is the only African American bank still standing in the state of Maryland. In addition to all his business activities, he is on a number of civic commissions. He's on something called the Oppenheimer Commission that's restructuring Baltimore's courts, as well as a commission on blighted properties, blighted areas, something that he was probably particularly interested in because along the way he had bought and sold real estate. One of his big real estate ventures or financing ventures was with the Southern Hotel, which is kind of interesting in a whole lot of ways. That's the fancy hotel downtown. It was built by white people and for only white people, and yet here was Baltimore's prominent African-American banker providing the financing for that. But his other big real estate venture was here in Wilson Park. And that got started in 1917 when he bought 3 parcels from a former country estate called Glenview that had been owned by a doctor, Dr. St. George Teakle. And in fact, if you know St. George Avenue here, that's where that gets its name. But he buys up 3 parcels and begins to develop immediately. Within 3 weeks, he's taking out advertisements in the African-American newspaper saying that his cottages that he's going to build, he calls them cottages, have all the conveniences. They have hot water, electric lights, large front porches. A lot will cost you $300. A built cottage will cost you $1,600. And what Wilson is doing, he within a year buys up all of the parcels here. He's building a suburban subdivision, but not just any suburban subdivision, a streetcar suburb. This is in Baltimore County in 1917. This is still part of Baltimore County. Not coincidentally, 1917 is also the year that Morgan College, now Morgan State University, moves to its campus, which is right nearby here. And so he's got a good market of highly educated college folks, African-American college folks, to pull from. He was, and his neighborhood does quite well. It attracts some of Baltimore's most prominent citizens. George McMecken, the pioneering civil rights lawyer, moves in here, as does a young Cab Calloway, of course, the band leader, for a short time. When Wilson dies in 1939, he dies in the house, and his funeral is held here as well. I want to conclude by talking a little bit about the house itself. When he built it, not long after 1917, he called it a cottage or a bungalow, but it was not any ordinary cottage. It had 17 rooms, a swimming pool, a fish pond, a circular drive, a garage. He clearly had done well. I want to say a final word of thanks, though, to two folks who I never had the chance to meet, Mabel and Walton Smith. They bought the house in 1992 at an auction at a time when it was listed as in need of serious repairs, and they did a wonderful job. Their daughter now has taken up the mantle and lives here and is keeping up the property magnificently. But want to say a special thanks to the Smith family, not just for taking care of the house, but also working with the city's Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation to get it listed as a city historic landmark and to help tell the story of Harry Wilson and the contributions that he made almost 100 years ago. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.